political.
Look, I've watched their political actions taken before. I don't know about this case. That doesn't mean every action they're going to take is political, but I've watched them use political plays many times before, and I think the country has...
So this doesn't sway you at all?
What you're proposing right now, getting the appropriations bills through that you can, and then a short-term CR with the border provisions, do you have the votes for that?
Well, I would sit back and think, if the highest elected Democratic governors and mayors, it would seem to me there would be some Democrats who would want to do this.
But within your own party?
Well, I wouldn't know who in our own party would want to side and take the position of Biden on the border. I can't think of anyone that would want to do that.
Mr. Speaker,
yes.
You called on Bob Menendez to resign.
Did I call on him, or did you ask me?
Well, you did over the weekend. You said he should resign. Do you think that George Santos, who's been indicted on federal criminal charges, should also resign?
No, I think George could have his day in court, and I think Menendez could have his
Mr. Speaker,
Why do you think he's resigned then?
It could be his choice what he wants to do.
are you worried that enough Republicans will join Democrats on a discharge petition to fund the government with a CR?
I'm not worried about that.
Mr. Speaker, when do you want to meet with the president?
Well, I would have wanted to meet with him long before. I've been trying on many different issues. But I just think today, when I think about it. New York is a very Democrat state, wouldn't you think? Even though we elected 5 new Republicans from there, I think those people in New York aren't happy with their leadership up there. But the president was just in New York. He was in the New York City to deal with the UN. Can you imagine? Probably one of the most prominent mayors elected in the country comes from New York. They couldn't even meet because they're at a crossroads about the southern border. The governor comes out and says, go somewhere else. Massachusetts, there's not one Republican member of Congress from Massachusetts, and the Democratic governor of Massachusetts declares an emergency because of the southern border. How many times are we going to hear about another American being poisoned and killed from fentanyl coming across this?
I understand.
And how many times are we going to continue to hear this secretary say the border is secure when no one believes it? You see the thousands of people every day coming.
Mr. Speaker, right now the Senate is working on passing its own sort of clean version of the CR. We're waiting for text. Are you closed to bringing that up for a vote before the shutdown could happen?
You know, it's interesting. I waited a long time for them to do something on the debt ceiling. They never did. I waited a long time for them to do something on the border. They never did when we sent them HR 2. I waited a long time for them to do something about the Americans being hurt by the energy costs so high when we passed HR 1 that would make America energy independent, stronger jobs, lower the price of gas, and they did nothing. I heard all this time they were going to pass appropriation bills all month, remember? You all wrote about it. They were the good chambers. They haven't passed anything yet. So when they pass something, come back and ask.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, all of the bills that you're trying to move through the floor this week don't have the votes to go anywhere in the Senate. You weren't even able to pass this. It's controlled by Democrats. They're saying that you're passing bills at different spending levels than the ones that you're moving through the House. So,
wait. State your question again. Were you stating that the bills we're putting on the floor, they do not have the votes to pass?
In the Senate.
So what bills did they pass? Hold on, what bills did they pass in the Senate?
They passed a bunch out of committee.
Okay, well, what did they pass in the Senate?
They're getting ready to bring up the
What
CR.
bills have they passed in the Senate?
I'm trying to ask you this question,
I'm trying to
Mr.
ask you
Speaker.
because you phrased something to tell me our bills can't pass the Senate. I'm just wanting to know, has the Senate passed any appropriations? Yes or no? Have they passed one?
They're working on passing a CR. Will you bring it up this week?
Well, they were working on passing appropriation bills all month.
Are you ruling out passing a bipartisan CR that the Senate sends over to you?
Questions that never seem to become true.
Here's another question. You've talked about this bill that you would like to see President Biden sign. When would you put that bill, that CR, with the border on the floor for a vote?
It'd be this week. I'd like to possibly, I want to see how fast we can do these bills and then put it on.
Do you need to see these bills done before you put a CR on the floor?
I just, looking at the timing, I'll work with the leader on the timing.
Do you think you will put it on the floor before Saturday?
Oh, yeah, will.
And Mr. Speaker, what?
I just didn't want to give you the exact day, then you come to me. If I said Wednesday, we had to do it Thursday because we were doing it.
Mr. Speaker, what continuing resolution will that be? Will it be the one that you unveiled in committee last week, or are you going to make changes?
I like that one, and I know there are some other ideas that some people have maybe to add to it.
What would be added?
No, we'll look at what people.
How long?
So it's not even final
5
yet.
days or
Rule
when?
out
How
whether
long?
Ukraine aid will
I
be
think
part of
that
it.
was about 30 days. I think
30 days?
45 days.
Well, which one's
So it's
30?
not-
Yes, I'm sorry, what?
Would you definitively rule out whether Ukraine aid will be part of it, or is that still on the table?
I don't think Ukraine aid should be taken up in the supplemental. I don't quite understand
With the CR?
when you have all these people across the country talking about the challenges happening in America today, that people would go and say, oh, we need to do Ukraine and ignore what's happening along our border. I think that would be the wrong move.
Did you mean CR? You said supplemental.
Or both? You mean both?
I said, well, let me phrase that. The question you were asking me, would it be on the CR? My answer would be no, that should be dealt with in a supplemental figure. So those are two separate things. I'm only talking about keeping the government funded during.
But Mr. Speaker, it sounds like that bill's not final, right?
Mr. Speaker,
Yes.
so what seems to be some of the major concerns that are still on the table that you need to work with with other Republicans in the House? And then if you can you also provide a response to the president going out to the auto workers strike?
We've got a big table to really work on all the issues. It's interesting to me. The president goes out to the United Auto Workers strike. He created the reason why they're on strike. They're on strike because their jobs are going away. Why? Because this president subsidizes electric cars over everything else, and the Democratic Party starts eliminating all other cars, which is moving their jobs overseas, so now they're picketing. That'd be the last person I'd invite to go picket with me. He's the person causing the problems.
Mr. Speaker, is your speakership on the line here in the shutdown debate?
Why?
Some of your members have told us they've been thinking about motions to vacate.
That should make me worried, huh? It's the same thing you asked me before I got elected speaker. I'm not worried about whether there's a speakership and things like that. The only thing I care about is fighting for the American people. And you know what? That means securing our borders. That means lowering the cost of energy.
A government shutdown
But if that-
can be
if that-
avoided if you say put in some border provisions, but also work with Democrats to get across the line. Why not?
I would love
But why
Democrats.
not go talk to the Democrats?
Okay, tell me when you're done and I'll answer.
I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would love Democrats to join with us on a continuing resolution that would secure the border. There are enough Democrat leaders out there that are calling for it. So I don't understand. I would thank everybody in Massachusetts. If you are a member of Congress from Massachusetts, your governor has declared a state of emergency. Now, if you have the opportunity to stop that, to actually vote for securing the border, that would show a lot. If you're in New York, you've got your governor, you've got your mayor, all calling for it. It's the #1 issue. So you'd have an opportunity. There's lots of opportunities. If you're a Democrat, you're down in Texas, you're in Arizona, you have this opportunity.
What do you think of when President Trump says to the Republicans they should get everything they want, if not shut it down? Do you agree with that message?
I think the President, Trump, always, the art of negotiation, he's always putting it different out there. I think, in my understanding, what I've always told you before, I like to keep government moving. I like to keep government working in the right direction. That's why I think this President Biden, should actually do something that everybody across the country is asking for. All you have to do, it's your policies that created this. You don't even have to write a law. You can just say, you know what? I've listened to the Democrat governors. I listened to what's happening in Massachusetts. You've got a state of emergency there. I've listened to what's happening in El Paso. I've listened to the families that their children have died from the fentanyl. And you know what? I'm going to work with the Republicans too. We're going to find common ground. Maybe you don't provide everything, but take the first step. Pull something back. And let's fund this government for a short time period while we finish all the approaches. Now, I don't know how long it'll take the Senate, but the way you guys report on the Senate, I'm sure they'll get it done tomorrow.
But-
So we'll be all right to get there.
But you think that's been helpful for the former president to say, shut it down? Is that actually...
I don't know. The president's always out there negotiating, so.
What's your gut instinct? What are the chances of a government shutdown right now?
I don't know. You'd have to ask President Biden.
You
Why
are
would
one-
he
you are-
hold
you are the
back?
most important
Why
leader
would
on
he
this.
hold back and keep the border this way when Democrats and Republicans across the country just begging him, families of those who have died and been poisoned from fentanyl? Would it be too much to say, you know what? I'm going to work with both sides. I realize 11,000 people came across yesterday, but that's too much.
But you're members.
I realize, I'm not finished my answer, and I realize that these new records at each moment, that catching these people on the terrorist watch list, that's wrong for this nation. I see the trains coming, the people being hurt. You know what? We should do something differently. And I think one of the best signs of a leader is acknowledging when they should correct, when they should do something different. And I believe this is a moment in time that he should reach across the aisle with us, and I want to work with him. I'll be the first one there to work with him, just like we did on the debt ceiling. Let's do something on the border, keep government open, and show this nation that we can do it right and solve the rest of our problems as we go.
Mr. Speaker, what should we make of this messaging change from you?